Hi, I hope you're keeping well and staying safe. Today I'd like to have a chat with you about how I'm coping with this crisis. If you asked me 2 weeks ago how I'm coping with this crisis, my answer would have been I'm feeling a bit stressed and anxious. This has affected my sleep as well, so the crisis has definitely affected me. This week I've been feeling less stressed and less anxious about this crisis. The reason for that is a reframe that I've made. At the time, I felt powerless and a sense of helplessness about how to cope in this crisis because of this whole thing can overwhelm somebody quickly. So I felt a bit overwhelmed by the crisis, and I felt that there's not much support out there, especially when there's huge concerns about personal protective equipment. And we've heard about young people also dying from this crisis. So I've got to say that I've done a bit of research on COVID-19 disease, and I've learned more about the mortality, about the transmission, and learned from other countries what other countries have been doing to fight this disease. So I've reframed it in my mind as a learning opportunity and how I can learn from this opportunity and focus on the solutions rather than dwelling on the problem or spending too much time worrying about something. So my focus now has been more about things that I can control, on things I can change, and solutions I can bring to the table. If we look at the bigger picture, there's not just doctors working hard in this time of crisis. There's nurses, healthcare workers, pharmacists, police officers, teachers, lorry driver, bus driver, our elected officials. They're stepping up and they're all working hard. People might criticize the leadership in managing this crisis. There are things that could have done better, should have done better, more preparation. All things are valid. However, in time of crisis, do you want to be part of the solution or do you want to be part of the problem? So yes, we need to learn from these lessons. When we come out from this crisis, we need to make sure that these are not repeated and we learn from the lessons so that all these deaths are not wasted. So we learn from something that's happened and we don't repeat it. But in this time of crisis, the time that we've got is precious, and we need to be using that time and focusing on the solution instead of dwelling on the problems. Yes, there's a crisis, there's a whole situation that there's not much we can do about the situation. This is going to last weeks or even months. Nobody knows how long this will last, and we don't have much visibility of the future at the moment. If we are feeling frustrated, stressed, and anxious for weeks and months, this is only going to harm ourselves. This is going to harm ourselves quite significantly because it's not good to stay stressed for a long period of time, to stay anxious for that period of time. If I let anxiety, fear, anger, and frustration drive my behavior and drive my choices, then it would be a disservice to myself because I'm going to be more stressed and I'm going to feel worse off because it's going to affect my health, it's going to affect my emotional well-being, and if this happens for weeks to months, then it can have a lasting impact on my health. So I've decided to use that energy, to use my attention to focus on the solution, to focus on things that I can work on, to focus on things that I can make a difference. In this time of crisis, you may have more time than usual because you're staying at home. So this is a good time to learn about yourself, to rediscover things that you didn't pay much attention. Enjoy the time that you have with your family members. Enjoy the time that you have staying at home because there are things that you could do that probably you didn't do because you were too busy before this crisis happened. So one of the things that I've been doing more is to read. And there's a book that I'd highly recommend you read in this time of crisis. This is Men's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Men's Search for Meaning is an insightful book by a doctor, Viktor Frankl. So he was a survivor of the Holocaust, and In World War II, he was imprisoned by the Nazi, and in the Holocaust, in concentration camp, the conditions were horrible. So he suffered a lot. He was deprived of his freedom. He was deprived of his liberty. He was not able to see his members of family. Did not have much food, and it was a lot worse than what we're living at the moment, where we have running water, we still have food, we have electricity. So the time that he suffered, he looked at it as a learning opportunity. He used this experience of being in a concentration camp to learn about the psychology of the prisoners. People still had hope in tragic time and still gave meaning to their life when everything seemed to be lost. This book is quite insightful. It's a small book, so it won't take long to read it. And I'd highly recommend to read this. And this will give you some perspective about life. It will give you some perspective about what we're living. Now is a good time to reflect on life. And in the last few days, I've done a lot of reflection to reflect about what's important in my life, what gives meaning to my life. And Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning, is a good way to start. So I don't know about you, but I've had a few plans for this year, some big plans. And one of the things I've been working for is to prepare for the CS exam, which is the MRC GP exit exam. And I was supposed to sit this exam in May. And this was a big part of what I was working on weekly basis. This exam got postponed, and I don't even know when the exam will be rescheduled because of the uncertainty. So this was something that was important, and I never thought that it was going to be postponed because of something more important coming, like this crisis. This is something that's overwhelming, and this is a situation I can't change. But what I can do, I can decide how I choose to respond in this time of crisis and uncertainty. What I have control over is my attitude, the way I'm responding. And this is something that's empowering in itself. When you realize that you still have control over your attitude, you still have control over the choices you make. Even if you don't have control over the situation, you still have this control of how you want to respond. It's empowering. It's something that's powerful. And when you realize that, then you can actually do something that's going to give more meaning to your life. I'm going to wrap this video up. If you enjoy this video, don't forget to smash the like button, and I'll keep you updated. See you in the next video. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.